Hey guys, welcome to the Rank Bridge Podcast, Episode 1. Today, I'm by myself, unfortunately, as I'm just having car troubles. Hopefully, he'll be showing up later today. We've got quite a few people live in the podcast listening. Notable names here we've got McCoy, AO Hamza, CMWK, Milkhead 2015, Orion JZ, Simply Wezzy, Teferi, Aiden, Certified Num Nums. Heading under it, RI, and Whale, all listening. Shout out to those guys. If you would like to attend next week's podcast, I believe we will be making this a weekly thing. Feel free to show up. We've got a specific stage channel for it on the Discord. If you haven't already joined the Rank Bridge Discord, go ahead and do that. What are you doing? You're missing out. Anyways, getting started here. If you guys have any questions that you'd like us to answer, any questions regarding ranked, or if you have any suggestions for ranked, now is the ideal time to mention those. You can go ahead and do that by either in general or in boosters chat. Do exclamation point, or sorry, hashtag exclamation point, typed out ranked, and tag the channel. You'll see it'll pop up the Rank Bridge podcast. You click it, that'll tag the channel, and then you can just type out your question, and I'll make sure to get around to that. Getting started into the first few things we had planned. Hopefully, we can get someone on here stage soon. None of you guys want to talk? What's going on? McCoy, you don't want to talk? All right. Yeah, so getting on to the first few things here. We've got quite a few things to talk about, McCoy. We've already got a list of things. If anybody doesn't want to join the podcast because they don't know what to talk about, we've got a list of things to talk about. It's just quite mundane if I'm by myself. You may have noticed. It is very much quite mundane by myself. All right, you've got to send a request though, McCoy, so I can add you. There we go. There we go. I invited you to speak. I think that means that you should be able to click something. There we go. There we go. Wonderful. Welcome, McCoy. It's all good, man. It's all good. Now, well, the point that you're up here is that you don't mute your mic, man. uh, yeah, good point. Anyways, would you like to introduce yourself? Indeed, indeed. For those who don't know, McCoy is gold overall, 1v1 gold, 2v2 silver, and 4v4 silver. Hopefully you can get gold all the way across the board this next 1.3x. We'll see though, depending on how much you want to play. Quick reminder for everybody who is currently listening in, after this podcast, in roughly an hour from now, we'll have 4 hours straight for Sadness Saturday. That is the one time of the week where we do 4 hours straight of 1.3 times ELO exchange. This gives everybody the chance. If you think that your ELO is a lot lower than it should be, come on, play, and you can speed run straight to the top. Very, very easy. So make sure you come ahead, you go ahead and play during those hours if you would like to do so. Anyways, moving into a few of our topics to talk about here. I've got a few things planned. Very first thing I'd like to talk about, current state of the leaderboards. Let's go ahead and look what has happened on the leaderboard since the start of the season, I guess. So that was about 21 days ago. So it's been roughly 3 weeks. Actually, this is our 3 week anniversary, conveniently. If we look at our overall leaderboard, reminder that for overall, this is everybody who has played at least 30 games of Ranked Bridge. That's 30 sets of best of 3. That's a lot of games played. Looking at this leaderboard, we've currently got Narwhal, OG Willie, and Vital sitting at the top. Currently, we've got Narwhal and OG Willie, the only two Diamond overall players. Very big achievement. Shout out to them for that. And then the entire rest of the top 10 are currently sitting at gold overall. We have no silver overalls sitting on the leaderboard. So if you have any hopes of getting up here, you're going to need gold overall, unfortunately. What are your thoughts on that, McCoy? Yeah, right, right. Oh yeah, I see that. 1v1 diamond. The Tom Brady of Ridge, indeed. Twice. Wow. 2 out of 5. Okay, okay. Yeah, 40% of the way to beating Ojueli. Quite impressive, you could say. Looking at the 1v1 leaderboard, as just mentioned, McCoy is getting very close to Diamond, not nearly as close as Please Q, who is now very close. I believe that's, no, that's, is it that? Please Q? Private Goon Spoon. People change their IGNs too much. I can't keep track anymore. But yeah, so he's number 4, 5 elo away from being the fourth ever Diamond Division 1v1 player. Very interesting. Narwhal actually starting to make the push all the way to Master. Quite insane. Very interested to see who's going to hit Master first in each division. Reminder that we still have yet to get a Diamond 4v4 player. No one has reached Diamond in 4v4. The closest anybody's gotten, I think, was around 1370. Around 1370 was the peak. I forget who reached there. I know Revenant Horror, I believe it is, was number one for quite some time, and I think he peaked at 1360 or so. So 1360, 1370, that's around where the players have been peaking. But we'll continue on to the 4-4 leaderboard in a minute here. Looking at the leaderboard, the cutoff point for 1v1 is actually quite insane. It is nearly 1300. 1300 is a whole 50 elo, an entire section past gold. So if you have any chance of getting on this, you need to be a player who can contend for Diamond and Master Division titles. So this is not the easiest leaderboard to get onto. Looking at the players on here, quick shout out to everybody here. We've got Narwhal, Outed, and OG Willie sitting up top in Diamond Division. Narwhal with a very nice, nearly 50 elo gap. Quite insane when you think about it. And then Private, Goon, Spoon, McCoy, Kovjin, up and coming player. One of the best new players I've seen at the game in a long time. And for those who don't know, Kovjin, insane player, very, very, very fast hippo times. If you guys haven't checked out the hippo practice map that Badamja did, they've got a Discord server and everything for speedrunning hippos. Very good place to go practice if you are planning to be a defender like Kovjin himself. He does have a duo teammate, and he has been playing a lot of the smaller tournaments that have been going around. He's been doing really good in those tournaments. So I definitely look forward to seeing where he's going to go with that. Following up to that, in seventh, we've got Vital. Vital, really well-known player, the first ever player to hit silver overall and gold overall. So he claimed 2 of this season's prizes. Once again, if you'd like to see our prizes, we've got a channel up there at the top on our Discord called #prizes. Check that out. We've still got 2 remaining prizes for the first season and some more coming soon, hopefully. Continuing on that note, we've got Please Q in 8th, and then Famous, a really good player. He played very well in the Bucket Tour a while ago. And then 10th place, we've got Badamja himself, who unfortunately, like I said earlier, he can't attend right now. He's currently having some car troubles, but hopefully he will show up later on in the podcast. What are your thoughts on this 1v1 leaderboard, McCoy?
Shows how good I am at scoring games. And if you compare it to OG Willie, I'm like 900 times better than OG Willie at scoring games. But about the solo leaderboard, I mean, yeah, it's cool. You know, all the pros, they're obviously gonna be like up there. You know, the 4v4 leaderboard is pretty cool though, because if you can be good at the 4v4 leaderboard, then that just shows that you're lucky at the game. That's basically my opinions.
Of course, yes. A lot of people have been jokingly mentioning that the 4-4 leaderboard is a little luck-based. It can feel that way sometimes because you've got so many teammates, kind of feels like it's a bit out of control. However, we have seen in the past seasons seasons of ranked bridge, a very long time ago, roughly a year ago. Good players do tend to rise to the top. If you guys remember, one of the best players of all time, Wes, did reach number 144 elo, actually reaching very high in the gold and diamond, and even sometimes touching masters in 4v4 in past seasons, with much fewer games played than a lot of people we have already now. So maybe some guys just aren't as good as you think compared to everybody else. Moving on, we'll give a brief look over to the 2v2 leaderboard. 2v2, just a step away from 1v1. This does require some experience when it comes to your teammates. And I'm now noticing something absolutely insane on the 2v2 leaderboard. OG Willie, number one right now, with 1,540 elo. This guy is 2 wins away from the first ever Master 2v2 title. That is quite insane. Quite insane. Almost a 100 elo gap on Narwhal number two. Narwhal, one of the most well-known players in Ranked Bridge. He has played an insane amount of Ranked Bridge. Thank you very much for that. And to everybody else who has been playing. Going down the leaderboard, we've got Narwhal in number two at 1462. Also in Diamond, very hefty gap over Vital in third place. Only 1402, roughly 1400. That is just on the brink, right on the edge of Diamond, sitting there comfortably. I believe he has stopped playing 2v2 because he's not wanting to lose his Diamond title. That is his only Diamond title currently. So Vital might have to step up his game if he wants to catch up to the other players on the overall leaderboard. Going down the leaderboard, we've got Please Q once again. Please Q, well-known player in ranked as well. He has played much less than a lot of other people. However, he is still showing to be very high on all these leaderboards, generally placing in the top 10 on just about every leaderboard. In fifth place, Teacher, someone who we haven't really seen on any other leaderboard. Teacher, very interesting player, solos player actually, who played a very long time ago in the original Ranked Bridge. His start was actually in the original Ranked Bridge, so it's really nice to see him doing so good now. Following that, we've got Kovjin, one of the best up-and-coming 2v2 players here. Seventh place got Float, and then Eastwag, also well-known ranked players from past seasons of Ranked, Outed, and then Fraud. A lot of newer players to these leaderboards, as we've seen in the past with ranked bridge leaderboards, they tend to be dominated by a lot of older players. However, this time around, in this season, on the first season of the ranked bridge reboot, we are seeing a lot of new names, a lot of names that we wouldn't have seen in the past. Names like PlaceQ, who we didn't really see on the other leaderboards in the past. Kovjin, a newer player. Teacher, far better than he used to be. Float was on there just a little bit last time. He's on there a lot now. He's very high elo now. And then Eastway is a very old player. Newer names like Outed, Fraud, players that we wouldn't have imagined being on top leaderboard spots in the past are now right there, top 10, contending for the number one title with everybody else. Looking over at the quote unquote random or most luck based, I should say, leaderboard to a lot of people. Not truly luck based. Should be made
A
clear.
lot of
The
people,
4-4 leaderboard.
me included, by the way.
Yeah, so looking over at the 4-4 elo leaderboard, quite some variation here. Still requires having gold division just to be top 10. That means to be on any top 10, you have to have gold. You can't not have gold and be top 10. However, if you are gold, you're essentially guaranteed top 10 for 44. As number 10 here, Outed, is at 1251. That is one elo above the requirement for gold. Right on the edge there. Going down from the top, number one spot right now, actually Please Q, insane. You'll see Revenant Horror held the number one title for a very long time. He has fallen all the way down to seventh, losing about 100 elo since the last time that we checked up on his leaderboard spot about 2 weeks ago. This is 3 weeks into this season. We will most likely be rounding up this season next week, so that the entire season is roughly a month. Fear not, though, we are not resetting people's elo between season. We're simply rounding down to the nearest division or something along those lines. So you won't lose all your elo, only a very small fraction of your elo. A little bit of an elo decay, I should mention. However, that is not finalized yet, so we won't focus too much on it. But we will be finishing off the season. So if you're wanting to secure some of those top division spots for the legacy leaderboards that will set you in stone as one of the best players of all time in Bridge, you can go ahead and check that out. Make sure you grind as much as you can this next week. Looking at the 4-4 ELO leaderboards once again, number one, as I mentioned, Please Q with a nice little gap of roughly 15 ELO there on Vital, and then Harmed at 1330. Kovjin, 1280. Kovjin doing really good on the teams leaderboards. Not the best 1v1 player, very good at teams though. However, a lot of the best 1v1 players did start off in 2v2s and in 4v4s. If we look at good players, really good players, such as Kra, also known as Kaz, he started in 2v2 with his teammate Martin several years ago, I think now. Very, very, very long time ago when Kra and Martin started playing. His teammate did end up quitting the game, I believe, or he isn't really active anymore. However, Kra is one of the better 1v1 players right now, one of the best actually, overall. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to see him play too much rank bridge. However, we hope to see him in the future to ensure that he actually is still one of the best. Uh, Looking at a journal here, I'm getting tagged for no reason, kind of whack. Don't know why that's happening. Looking back over at the leaderboard that I was looking at here. A lot of people are mentioning the win streak leaderboards. We can briefly take a look at those after. Going down the list though, after Covington, we got Narwhal. Narwhal been grinding Elo like crazy this whole time. Float, Revenant Horror, like we mentioned earlier. We've got I'm Velo, Shaggy, all the way down to Outed. And I've just noticed that my podcast member here, but Dam just seems to have joined. I believe he is plugging his mic. Whenever he gets to unmute, he can join us
Alright,
in the
yeah, what's up,
podcast.
guys? Sorry I'm late. I had to fix something that was wrong with my car, but it's good now.
It's all good. Do you want to introduce yourself for those who might be listening and haven't played Ranked Bridge before?
Yeah, I'm Badamja, and I'm a staff member of Rankbridge, and yeah, I've been playing for a while, and yeah,
All
chilling, I guess.
right. Welcome to the podcast. Glad that you managed to show up only a little late. We still got quite a bit of the podcast to go. We just went
Alright,
over all of the ELO leaderboards. We've got McCoy as a co-host here today as a
what's up, McCoy?
helper
Hello,
since you were a little
Ninja.
late. Moving
Mm-hmm.
on.
I'm just here to give my opinions on certain things that nobody cares about. Like, of course, my opinion. Like, people care about these things, but they
All
just don't care
right.
about my opinion. Yeah,
Looking
I'll
at
let you.
the win streak leaderboard real quick, this is going to be overall dot best win streak. This is the best win streak that have ever been achieved by these players in the overall section. So
23.
this is the amount of wins that you've got consecutively overall. So if you play 10 games in a row 4v4, win all of them, which would be quite insane, might I add. And then you lose one in 2v2 or in 1v1, you lose this win streak. It's your overall win streak. Very difficult to maintain. We've still got insane numbers up here. Number one, still holding, uncontended, vital, one of the best players of all time. He's still holding it at 23 wins in a row in ranked without losing any. That is quite insane.
Yeah,
Second
it's
place, we've got
crazy.
Narwhal at 21. Then Outed and OG Willie tied at 17. And then it drops down to a four-way tie at 13. We've got Float, Asian Men Graphics, and Flexi. And then at ninth place, we've got 29 game with 12, and Badam just sitting at 10th place and 11. Badam, just since you're 10th place, why don't you want to talk? Do you want to talk about just a little bit, go over how hard it is to get these win streaks in ranked?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually pretty difficult to get. Like, I mean, I guess you do have to get a little bit lucky, but like, it's more than that. You also have to like, depending on what mode you play. If you play like twos or fours, you got to be really good at like team sense and like doing the right things that will allow your team to win. And it's really hard with so many different types of combinations. So 23 is like very impressive. I think it's really cool that Vital was able to do that.
Yeah, looking over
And
4v4.
solo, you just have to be a really good player. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, looking over at the 4v4 win streaks, this is notably very, very difficult to maintain. The best win streaks in 4v4, some of these numbers are still quite insane. I can't even imagine getting one of these top win streaks in 4v4. This is an insane amount of wins. Float and Narwhal tied for first here, first and second place at 12.
Yeah,
12
yeah.
4v4 wins in a row. Isn't that insane?
People underestimate how hard it is to get a win streak in 4v4 compared to like other modes, because the more players per team, it's like the less you're able to contribute to that team. So like, I don't know, a 12 4v4 win streak is like more impressive than like a 15 doubles win streak, for example, because like you can only contribute so much. So you have to be like very good to like 12 games in a row in fours. That's ridiculous, I think.
It is quite insane. Even just getting on the top 10, you need to get 7. Right now, 10th place over this has a win streak of 7, and then 6th through ninth are all tied at 8. Just getting a win streak of 7 or 8 so I can get on this leaderboard is quite insane. Personally, I think my best is like 2 or 3. So getting 7 in a row, absolutely insane. Just getting top 10, not even thinking about doubling that. All the way up to 13, 14, maybe even 15, just to get one of these top spots on the leaderboard. Very, very difficult to do. And if we look at the 2v2 win streak leaderboard currently, it's a little higher. As we can see, as you go fewer players, on average, you'll have higher win streaks. So we've got Narwhal, OG Willie, and Vital all tied at 14. That's still a lot of ranked games to win in a row in 2v2. 14 wins is no joke. A lot of people don't even have 14 wins in 2v2 right now. So looking at that, very, very difficult to do. And then it slowly goes down 13, 12, 11, 10. These are players like Pleaskew, Ankins. This is the first leaderboard we've seen Ankins on. Very good player. Flexi outed, Nintendo fan, well-known player who just showed up. And actually, right here, our co-host McCoy in 10th place on the 2-2 win streak leaderboard with 8. What do you have to say about that, McCoy?
I mean, it just come like if you have talent, it'll come naturally. I didn't even know I was on that leaderboard. I just get medals without even knowing them. So
It
there's not much
happens.
else to say.
It happens. Yeah, it happens. And if we look at the current best 1v1 win streaks, these are actually quite insane. But you'll see here, all these players are actually just really good at the game. None of these players are bad at the game. They're all really good, very talented players. A lot of them are actually old players who have been playing for several months at the very least. Often, a lot of these players have been playing for years, playing bridge. So it's a lot of dedication to the game. At the top, we've got Outed with 24, very insane. Outed, one of the top ELO players, one of the top contenders for overall ELO. And especially 1v1 ELO at 24. 24 1v1 wins in a row. This is not jokes. These are all ranked best of threes. You actually have to be good to win these. This isn't just like your casual queue where you queue on Hypixel. 24 win streak on in casual queue on Hypixel is jokes. You get that in an hour. But getting that in ranked can take days, weeks, and months, and you actually have to be really good at the game. Very, very good, very high level
Right.
gameplay to get to these spots. And then going down the list, we've got Vital, Narwhal, Spoon, Badamja at 5th place with 14. 14, very, very impressive. Right behind him, tied, we've also got McCoy and OG Willie, all tied at 14 right now. Famous at 13, Asian Man at 12, and Please Q at 11. Please Q, very, very good at showing up on just about all the leaderboards we've seen already. Very good player overall. And I do see Ryan is in the chat right now looking for ongoing win streaks, and so we'll be going over that right now. If we check overall ongoing win streaks, so these are people who have win streaks right now overall on Ranked Bridge. Are people who have won this amount of games across every mode and haven't lost any. I'm looking at these right now. Number 1, we've got Kai the Asian. Someone you guys may not have heard of, but he has been playing quite a lot
Wow,
of Bridge
whoa, okay.
recently. Kai the
Let me,
Asian. Kai the
that's very
Asian.
disrespectful. Kai the Asian is a very powerful, strong player. Okay.
Kind of Asian, a very good friend of McCoy's. He's currently sitting number 1, very strong. Not too much of a lead, but sitting very strong at 11. 11 is still a lot of wins to get in ranked bridge. In second place, we've got Berserk V. Berserk V, very, very, very well-known bridge player from 2v2 bridge back in past seasons of ranked bridge. And third place, we've got Over This, very strong PvP player, very good at 2v2 and 4v4 especially. Fourth place, we've got Narwhal at 9, and then Yeezy Crocs, Trimybot, Brayden, Ryluz, Femboy, and an unknown player actually. I believe that is Rabbit or someone else. I'm not too sure on that. All tied for all tied for at 7 in for 5th place. So 5th through 10th, that's 6 players all tied at 7. So if you are one of those players, if you have 7 overall win streak right now, go ahead, just get 1 win, and you can get you can claim your spot on the overall win streak. Looking over at 4v4 current win streaks, this is something I find very interesting because these players can lose it at any moment. We've got I'm Velo at 10, Kai the Asian showing up once again at 8. Very high win streaks Kai has. Over this at 7, Osks and Kovjan at 6, and then Perry, Danger, Wuzek, Jason Effect, and Please Q all at 5. Very, very intense. Getting even just 5 wins. This is just current win streak. Just getting 5 wins in a row 4-4 is quite insane. You've got to play a lot of 4-4. You've got to be a good player a lot of the time to secure these win streaks. Now, if we go ahead and look at, we can move on to some other leaderboards. Let's look at who has played the most ranked bridge. Let's look at this. If we look at overall playtime, we actually do have an exclusive playtime leaderboard. So if you didn't know, while you're playing Ranked Bridge, we ask that you join the team channel to help us track up many things. Amongst one of them is playtime. So if we look at overall playtime, the player who has played the most Ranked Bridge since we implemented this feature is Flexi. Flexi, very well-known Ranked Bridge player. And all these players, you've probably seen them at least once in Ranked Bridge. They've played an insane amount of Ranked Bridge. Flexi here with 63 hours of ranked bridge play. That's a lot of ranked bridge to play in such a short amount of time. Then moving on, we've got well-known players. We've got Kavjan, Narwhal, Arai, Aiden Mindman. Bit of a hot take there. Opinions, well-known player. Geekid, Enkins, Plays Q, and Getting Under It. These players aren't necessarily the best players in the world, but they are the players who will be the best. Because a reminder, as always, OG Willie started in ranked. He wasn't the best
Played
player by any
1,000
means.
games.
Yeah, he played roughly 1,000 best of threes of ranked, and now he's one of the best players in the world. And so if you want to become one of the best players in the world, all you gotta do is play 1,000 best of threes of ranked, and you'll get there.
And then you can win 4 Rookie Tours.
Yeah, exactly. You can be the new Tom Brady of Bridge. All you gotta do is play 1,000 best of threes to warm up. Reminder that the best time to start this 1,000 game grind is actually right after this podcast ends. Roughly 30 minutes from now, we'll start our Sadness Saturday. It's a weekly event for 4 hours straight, 1.3 times Elo exchange multiplier. This makes it very easy to climb. If you think that you're a really high Elo player, but your Elo is actually really low because you just haven't played a lot, now is the best time to play during these events because then you can just essentially speed run straight to the top. If you're good enough, you can get to one of these top 10 spots within the 4 hours that we are given during this event. Make sure you go ahead and play right after this podcast if you do want to secure one of the spots. Looking over at the game scored, because McCoy felt like bringing it up. Game score, this is an exclusive leaderboard for those who can score games. Reminder that if you would like to be a scorer, go ahead and ask. All we ask is that before your score, that you have at least some ranked bridge experience, let you know how everything works, and that you understand how to properly score reports. So if you're one of those people who very lazily score reports, don't bother asking. But if you think you have really good score reports and that you do them really nicely and you would like to help out the rank bridge system, the rank bridge environment to better the game in the competitive community, go ahead and ask a staff member or another current scorer, and we can hopefully get you through some brief training. It takes roughly 15-20 minutes to get started, and you can be a scorer for life, essentially. Looking at this leaderboard, McCoy, insane. Over 900 games scored. Quite insane. And then, of course, I start ranked bridge, so I've got one of the higher games scored as I was often online during the first few days of the season. Next up, we've got Megumin in third place, Ark in fourth place, Narwhal in fifth place, and then Geekid, Jesse, OG Willie, and Badamja fairly low, not even hitting double digits. Some of them quite interesting.
That's pretty embarrassing. Yeah. Yeah. I also just like to just have a little second. If you take my games scored and divide them by OG Willie, who's by the way the Tom Brady of Bridge, and yeah, like divide them by his, I am 130.857142857 times better than the Tom Brady of Bridge. I just wanted to bring that up. I'll let you get back to it, Open.
If you are 130 times better than a Tom Brady of Bridge, that is something that very few people can say. So if you want to be just like McCoy, go ahead, sign up to be a scorer, and you can be one of the best players of work, Dave. And actually, breaking news, OG Willie just hit the first ever 2v2 Master Tag, and the first ever Master Tag in any division. So this is the first Master Tag that has ever been seen in Rank Bridge since we have restarted it. Roughly 3 weeks ago. So it only took 3 weeks, and someone has hit Master in 2v2. That is quite insane. However, unlike past seasons, previous seasons, where players have hit Master Tag, this is actually not the highest title you can get currently in rank. The highest title that someone could try to achieve right now, as Badamja just mentioned, is Grandmaster at 1,750. That is insane.
ridiculously hard. Like
Who do
it's
you guys
so hard.
think is going to be the first person to hit 1v1 Master?
No one. It's
How
literally
many how
impossible.
many wins and losses would OG really have to get right now to get Grandmaster?
Grandmaster in 2v2?
Yeah,
Well, if he gets no losses, he can probably go on like a 30 win streak and get pretty close, I think. Maybe 40 win
30
streak.
wins. Jeez.
OG Willie, for those who are just listening at home and can't see this live, once again, if you guys wish to attend this live, this is every week on Saturday. We'll announce the time the day before on the Friday. You guys can go ahead and attend live, listen live, and participate, ask questions. Get your word out there directly to the staff team during this dedicated hour of the Rank Bridge podcast every week. Looking at OG Willie's stats, though, for those who are at home and who are just listening in, this is 43 wins in 2v2 and only 4 losses. Let me repeat that. That's 43 wins and 4 losses. That's a 10 win loss in ranked. 10 win loss ratio is unheard of in ranked. That is insane. Very, very difficult to obtain. Very few players can obtain this. As we can see, he also has very good 1v1 stats, 24 and 2. Quite insane. Current win streak in 2v2 right now for OG Willie is 14, which is already absurd to me. What do you guys think about his stats?
I think
Um,
it's nuts.
he's pretty cool. You know, he plays like doubles and stuff. That's what I have to say about it. I don't know. You know,
If you ever
pretty good player.
play the OG Willie, it's like you don't have to do anything. He just like does everything and it works. You can be
Exactly.
AFK and
Exactly.
you'll just win the 2v2 game. It's crazy.
Right, exactly.
Plays so good with like everybody. I don't understand.
Yeah, very, very, very good player. Originally Wales' teammate for 2v2 when he first joined Ranked Bridge, and since then I think he's very much outpaced not only Whale, but just about everybody else. He is an absurdly good player. Like Badamja and McCoy have already said, if OG Will is your teammate, you don't really have to do much. You just have to play through the game, go through the motions, and OG Will takes care of pressure for you, just magically. He takes care of game advantage, takes care of everything. He even takes care of goals and defense in some instances, depending on what the matchup is. So it really feels like it's almost sad how little you have to do when you're playing with OG Willie sometimes. However, it should be mentioned that this isn't always the case. If you've played with OG Willie in silver queue games, and even sometimes higher queue games we might see in the future, you still do have to play at the very top levels. It's not like OG Willie is some end all be all when it comes to playing games. In 2v2, he still has lost 4 games. Even in 1v1, he's lost 2 games. Right? It's not like he's unbeatable. He might have 10 win loss, but a lot of those queues might just be quote unquote lucky queues, as a lot of people like to mention. However, it does seem like he's a very good player. He's not unbeatable. You too can right now, anytime OG Willie is playing, you can hop in a queue and play against him if you wish. So if you are someone who's up and coming and you want to practice to be the best player in the world, you just got to practice against the best players in the world. And right now, there's a lot of people who are very, very good at the game. Some of the best players in the world who are playing Rank Bridge. So go ahead, attend Rank Bridge. Every day we've got people playing. Just show up, hop in a queue, play with these very, very good players, and you too can become one of the best. Looking at Ojuba's 44 stats, though, a little lacking, almost a little disappointing. Still very, very good, 22 and 10. However, he's only at 1230 elo. 1230 elo, a little low. It's a little odd seeing OG Willie Diamond 1v1, Master 2v2. Not even golden 4-4. He's silver 4-4. Quite embarrassing if you look at. We've got over 10 people in gold 4-4 right now. So to think that OG Willie, one of the top leaderboard players in overall and in 1v1 and in 2v2, not even top 10 in 4-4, come on. I feel like OG Willie very much could play a little bit more 4-4, get his elo up, at least a gold, because it will end up boosting his overall elo quite a bit. Overall stats for OG Willie, 50. Oh, sorry, that's float. If we look at where's OG Willie, yeah, I've lost him. Stats OG Willie. There we go. 89 and 16. 89 and 16 is a lot. That is quite absurd. That's what, like 5-1 loss? That's very, very, very good for ranked. Let's take a look at these other top players real quick. If we go back to overall ELO leaderboard, we unlock actually ahead of OG Willie right now is Narwhal. Let's take a look at Narwhal. So we just mentioned OG
He's doing
Willie
great.
currently his overall elo is being sunk because of his 4v4. His 4-4 elo is just too low to really help all that much with his overall. It's actually draining his overall elo. So let's look at someone who actually is above him right now on the overall leaderboard for elo. We've
And
got
always gonna
Narwhal.
keep getting better.
Narwhal, insane player, 154 wins and 57 losses. That's over 200 best of threes of ranked. This guy is a fifth of the way to having as much rank practice as OG will. Isn't that insane? It's only been 3 weeks. Quite absurd if you ask me. Looking at his titles, Diamond overall, of course, as with the other top players. The top three are all Diamond overall right now. We've got Diamond 1v1 at 1483. That is very, very high. That's not just Diamond. That's halfway to Master. Quite absurd. He's 42 and 9. Very, very good demonstration there. Narwhal very much could push for the first 1v1 Master title. All he would have to do is get what, like 10, 15 more wins, maybe 1 or 2 losses, and he very well could get the first ever 1v1 Master title. If you want to be the one to stop Narwhal from getting the first 1v1 Master, make sure you Q snipe him when he gets in queue. If you see Narwhal in queue, go ahead, Q him so you can take him out, grab that elo. Reminder, if you beat someone with high elo like this in 1v1, you are going to take a lot of it. Okay, these guys aren't just risking a couple of elo per game. If Narwhal loses 2-0, he's risking a lot of elo. He's risking
Pretty,
like
pretty true.
25 elo, 30 elo a loss, and he only gets +2, +5, sometimes +10 depending on who he plays against. So even if you lose against him, if you win just one game, you can sometimes take a little bit of elo away from him just by winning one game in a best of three. Quite insane. All you've got to do is win one game. You can still lose the best of three set and just win one game. And you can take some of his elo away from him. You can say that you contributed to stopping him from getting 1v1 Master. Looking at his 2-2 stats, 1463 also almost halfway up into Master 2v2. Still very far away from where OG Willie is at, who just hit number one. Or sorry, who's been number one and just hit the first ever Master title in 2v2. Quite insane. But yeah, Narwhal here almost halfway up into Master. Very, very, very absurd. I can't wait to see where Narwhal goes in the future. He has been slowing down his grind a little bit, still playing a lot of games, but slowing down in terms of elo gain simply because it gets harder. As you go up, it gets harder and harder to gain elo. It takes more and more games. Look at his 4-4 stats, nothing to look away from. 34-19, which may seem quite low, but that still does place him high into gold division on the leaderboards, very high on the leaderboards, with 1275. 1275 is a lot of elo for 4-4. What do you guys think of how hard it is to hit gold in 4-4?
Well,
Um,
I just like to say, okay, I'll let the damage speak after this, but it's you were talking about OG Willie's elo earlier. It's kind of a funny coincidence how he's like Diamond 1v1, Master 2v2, and a Silver in 4v4. It's just such an interesting coincidence. Don't you think? It's just quite interesting. I don't know. Almost like it's
well,
very
what's
very
his for
difficult.
that's
I think he's
wait,
like
20 times.
Silver. 20, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that really. It's very difficult. You have to have a list of people that you do not want on your team, and you have to queue at times when they are not queuing. That is the ultimate tip for getting 4v4 elo. I think I don't know anybody that doesn't have an extensive list of
And
people to
I'm not
not.
gonna lie, it
I'm not gonna
is.
leak names. I'm not gonna leak names, but there's a lot of people on that list.
I mean, sometimes it's you can't say it's not a little bit luck based, but like still,
It is a little bit
you still
luck
have to be
based,
good.
like with most games that have teams of 4 or 5, or even team sizes of
Mhm.
6 sometimes, especially when it's a best of 3 set. Best of 3 sets can take up to like 40 minutes sometimes, depending on the game mode. So it does take quite some time. You might also notice there's a lot of other good players, such as Vital. Vital has done really good for only 20 only 6 losses for his 23 wins. Very, very good. 1349 elo. A lot higher than OG Willie. I think OG Willie just maybe needs to practice more 4-4. OG Willie known to be a 1v1, 2v2 player, not necessarily a 4-4 player, whereas Vital does have a lot of 4-4 experience. Vital has been playing for far longer than OG Willie, should be mentioned. I think OG Willie might just be a little out of practice when it comes to 4-4, might not have as much carry potential as someone such as Vital or maybe such as Wes did back in the day last year when we had the past season of ranked where Wes was very, very, very dominant in the 4-4 leaderboard. What do you think of that when it comes to older players versus newer players on the leaderboards, but damn show?
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know. You see, please queue at the top, 1364. It's nuts. I kind of want to see the stats. I don't think I saw it before. But, yeah. 37 and
OG.
20.
Oh, sorry.
That's
Sorry.
like,
You speak. You speak. I'm very dumb.
well, yeah. I mean, compared to like his win loss is not even two, but he still has 1364. So like, I don't know. At this point, I think if you just play enough and you have a decent win loss, you can see yourself on top 10 for 4v4 elo. But yeah, still you have to be pretty good to get on
Yeah.
there. I
It's
mean, it's pretty hard.
also to mention that win-loss isn't everything because if all of your wins are 2-0 and your losses are 2-1, you're going to be losing a lot less elo.
Sure.
For those who don't know, if you win 2-0, you gain a lot more and the opponent loses a lot more elo. Whereas if you lose a game, so it's 2-1, so let's say you lose the first game and then your team wins two in a row, you actually don't gain nearly as much, a lot less, roughly a third of the elo you would have gained in some instances. And then on the opposite side, the losing team obviously loses a lot less as you gained a lot less elo exchange. So it does depend. Maybe I think I remember correctly, if I remember correctly, Police Q does end up losing quite a lot of his 4-4 games. However, he then wins nearly double those, and when he wins, he's winning 2-0, and his losses are usually 2-1. So a lot of it's just playing on different maps. I think Police Q is very well-rounded player when it comes to maps. I don't think there are very many weak points when it comes to Police Q's map roster. He's very good on maps like Condo that you might play. A lot of people who are playing on other Discord servers like Bridge Scrims, who a lot of you guys might be familiar with for unranked games, a very good place to warm up if you wish to do so before ranked, or if you just feel like playing a day a little bit more relaxed, you can go ahead and play there where there is no elo exchange. Over here on rank, there's always elo exchange, even if you're warming up. But a lot of people have been playing on other servers like this. You're playing in tournaments. They don't play on maps like Condo, on maps like Twilight. But in Ranked Bridge, these are maps that you can play. So if you're not very warmed up on them and your opponent is, you are going to be taking a loss there. And I think that's where a lot of Please Q's strategy comes from. And just being a very well-rounded player, being able to play very consistently overall. And I think that's gifted him that's the reason why he's gotten such high elo in 4v4.
Yeah, that seems right.
Looking at a question from Toggled in general. Reminder, if you guys have any questions, if you are a server booster, if you have server boosted the Discord, you get exclusive access to Booster's Chat where you can go ahead and ask us questions during the podcast there. We'll take priority from those questions. However, we just got a question from general. For those who haven't boosted the server, feel free to ask questions in general. He said, what does plus question mark mean for ELO? So for those who don't know, everything is mentioned somewhere in how to play or in rules. However, I'll go over this briefly. If you haven't played enough ranked bridge, so if you're under 10 games played in your mode, so let's say it's your ninth game of bridge 2v2 in ranked, right? It's gonna say plus question mark because you simply haven't played enough elo. Sorry, you haven't played enough games in ranked to be able to see your elo. So to see your 2v2 elo, you got to play at least 10 games of 2v2. To see your 4v4 elo, you got to play at least 10 games of 4v4. That's not 10 wins, that's 10 games played. So if you lose 9 and win 1, you can still get to see your elo after 10 games. Same thing with 1v1. So just make sure that you go out and play at least 10 games if you want to start seeing your elo changes. So you can go ahead and see that. And it actually very much shows when the ELO exchange multipliers are on. So you'll see that when the ELO exchange multipliers are on, for example, in 15 minutes from now, we'll have ELO exchange 1.3 times. So that means you go up by 1.3 times or 30% more ELO and you lose 30% more ELO. So it's a bit of a higher risk, higher reward situation. We have 4 hours of that from 4 p.m. EST all the way till 8 p.m. EST today. So starting in 15 minutes, you can play for 4 hours straight and gain a lot more ELO. Which means if you do want to try and take one of these leaderboard spots from these leaderboarders, they're risking a lot more elo if they lose, and you can very easily climb very, very high doing so. I also just now realized that Sustalo may not have been listening to the podcast. You may not have heard. However, at least we hopefully answered a question from a few people at home. TP here, wonderful question here. How does the matchmaking work? I would give this off to someone else, but I feel like I might be the most qualified to explain matchmaking. Matchmaking, very, very complex system in Rank Bridge. I'll talk briefly about the 1v1 matchmaking, and then we can talk about the 4v1, as I think 2v2 is just a bit of a mix. So if we look at the 1v1 matchmaking, very, very simple. It takes 4 people in the queue, as you may know for those who haven't played ranked, we take 4 people in the queue at once. And it matchmakes based on many, many factors. It matchmakes based on your current elo, so how good it thinks you are overall, so consistently around where you're at. But it also takes into account if you've been doing less good recently, if you've been playing really, really good recently. If you've been playing really, really good recently, you might be in the middle of a giant spike of improvement. So we'll offer you more elo for higher more difficult wins. So let's say
Another
you're
reason why getting a 4v4 win streak is so impressive.
yeah, exactly, because getting these wins is very, very difficult. But looking at back to matchmaking, it is very, very difficult because the way it works is it matches based on how fair it thinks games are. So it takes the 4 players in queue and checks every single possible combination. So there's 3 combinations for 4 people to make 2 pairs. So essentially, we're making pairs because a 1v1 game is 2 people in it, so that's a pair. So it looks at all the different ways to make pairs, and then it looks at what the fairest pairs are. And depending on how fair they are compared to each other, it builds a distribution of chance, and then it rolls a seeded dice. A lot of these terms might be a little complicated. If you have any questions on any of the terms I'm using, you can feel free to ask a follow-up question regarding that. But it rolls a seeded dice, that is to say, a dice that, given the same people, the same elo, the same everything, the same environment essentially, it always gives the same answer. It will roll a seeded dice that is weighed towards the fair results. So on average, you will get the fairest games, and then slightly less often you'll get slightly less fair games, and then very, very, very rarely you'll get less fair games. But these less fair games aren't necessarily bad because these less fair games sometimes they're not actually that unfair, right? You'll see sometimes there are very, very good players who are underrated by the community. Maybe they haven't played a lot of rank, but they've played a lot of bridge scrims. They've played a lot of tournaments. They've played a lot of bridge elsewhere. They're still very good at the game, but they're just lower elo. And so sometimes the bot may see it as an unfair game, but it's not necessarily an unfair game. So a lot of the time people say that matchmaking is a little unfair. It's never actually that unfair because at the end of the day, it depends who you go against and you are risking or not risking more elo, right? So if it's a game where you're playing against someone a lot lower elo than you, you might think, oh, this is an unfair game, but you're still risking a lot more elo than the other guy. So if they do take a game from you and you're so much higher than them, like if Narwhal queues someone with 1,000 elo somehow, which is absurdly unlikely, then he's still, it might be a little unfair, but he's still risking an absurd amount of elo. So it's actually not that unfair at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, if the 1,000 elo happens to be like God or something, then he's screwed over, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. There are all a lot of players. For example, I believe Paris, very well-known player, very, very good at the game. Hasn't played a lot of ranked. Played just a few, a handful games of ranked. Also, a lot of other good players.
I'd be in the 70s.
Nona Jers or I'm Blitz. Oh, there's a lot of good players who have yet to play ranked, and so some of these games may or may not be as unfair as you think. There's also the idea that uh, what you think is a fair game and what actually is a fair game may or may not lined up properly, as a lot of people may say. Some people are underrated, some people are overrated. And so there's a lot of subjective views, very difficult to make. If you guys remember, several years ago or months ago, I guess, although I think at this point it might be years, people tried making tier lists for bridge players. And that was quite a nightmare as we couldn't get one agreed upon tier list because everybody had different views on how good each player was for each mode, and et cetera, et cetera. So even just several years ago when there was far less people to think about in the community, it was insane because We just had so many different people, so many different opinions. It's very, very difficult. And so that's why I think it's so magical that we have an insane bot and an insane matchmaking system right now compared to subjective views. Simply put, because the bot doesn't care about subjectivity, it doesn't care about people's opinions. It cares about how you actually perform in games. And so if you perform better, you'll go up. Perform worse, you'll go down. Next up, we got a question from Flexi, is there going to be an incentive over the summer so ranked is more active? Leading up to this, I've actually got a bit of an announcement. So this podcast is ending in 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we will end the podcast and we'll invite everybody to go ahead and play ranked because we will have our Sadness Saturday, as previously mentioned during this podcast. Go ahead and play for 4 hours of 1.3 times Elo Exchange. However, after that ends, before that starts, so 10 minutes from now, I will be resetting weekly stats as it is our weekly update. And then over the course of the next week, whoever gets the most wins, so your total win count in Rank Bridge, whoever plays the most and gets the most wins, not just playing, but also winning games, will be getting a prize that I will be posting into the prizes channel sometime later today. So if you do want, I believe you'll be offered Nitro or Rank Upgrade. If you do want one of these, you can go ahead and play. And hopefully we can continue this for future weeks. As Flenchy just mentioned, why this week? Fear not, Flexi. We will hopefully be having more of these in future weeks, not just this week. Taking a peek over at Booster Chat, does anybody who has server boosted have any questions for us to prioritize or not? Maybe not. Looking at
I think Apple has a question.
Apple has a question. Why can't I block glitch in scrims and tourneys, but not ranked bridge? But no, do you want to answer that one?
Well, I guess the whole argument why it's not allowed is because if we allow block glitching, then we also have to allow a lot of then we also it's kind of difficult to allow block glitching, but not allow certain things like placing blocks behind you at build limit or placing blocks under you and fly jumping or whatever. Well, sometimes in fours there's a lot of like gray area where that can happen, and like I don't know, there's a lot of ambiguity, I guess. And there's certain like jumps that you can make that you wouldn't be able to make without block glitching. So I don't know. I think that's the main reason why it's not allowed. I think it's still a little bit subjective, but
Indeed, it is very subjective. Some people think it should be allowed. Some people don't think it should be allowed. There are arguments for both sides. And for those who don't know, currently it is not allowed. If you're on
no,
build limit
no,
on
you can't do
some,
that, Apple. Not in ranked, 'cause that's not allowed.
no Apple. However, we have seen there are a lot of instances in ranked games where you actually don't have to block clutch up to the top of stump because simply by running up to the stump and holding right click blocking with your sword, you can very often just get boosted up. So if you are a high game sense player, if you have ideas of this, there are a lot of defenders. Apple, don't doubt the defenders out there. There are a lot of people in ranked, very high elo players actually, Diamond Division players even, who have done this in the past. And so just because you think it doesn't happen doesn't mean it doesn't happen. As we've seen with a lot of games, there have been a lot of upsets with ranked games. So upsets are when the lower elo team by some substantial amount often sometimes win games against higher elo players. Substantiate your claim, which diamond users? I said gold, I think. But there have been a lot of gold players who have, I said diamond. Oh yeah, which gold is? I'm not going to call people out. I don't have exact instances, Apple, but there are a lot of times where players have played some pretty foolish games. Simply because, some people are consistent, some people are less consistent. Sometimes you play really, really good. Sometimes you just don't play as good. People have off days, people have on days. So sometimes you're playing far better, sometimes you're playing far worse. And the idea of ranked is to find out how good you are on average. Um, but yeah, so we will be offering a prize over the next week for whoever gets the most wins. So if you would want that, you can go ahead and try that. If you want to keep track of your daily win count, We don't have any way of doing that for normal players. However, if you server boost the Discord, so if you have Nitro, you can boost the Discord, you can go ahead and you get access to a command that shows daily and weekly stats. So you can go ahead and see how many current wins you have. And then behind the scenes, we'll be keeping track of a leaderboard for this. And exactly 1 week after it starts, so it starts 5 minutes from now, exactly 1 week from then, we will go ahead and see who has the most wins, and we'll make an announcement for that. Servers allowed to block glitch? No, they are not, Schmill. The rules are the same for everybody, including server boosters. Now, if we look at current prizes still up for grabs. I believe gold overall and diamond overall have both been taken, but master overall, first to hit master overall, is still up for grabs. So if you want a free rank upgrade or a free month of nitro, real nitro, $10 nitro, you can go ahead. You just gotta play enough. Be the first. Be the best. Be the first to hit master overall. You can get that free rank upgrade or month of nitro, or very simple, just get the most wins over this next week of ranked bridge. Anyways, in these next 4 minutes remaining of the podcast, is there anything you guys want to say, McCoy?
I guess I mean I was gonna say something like 15 minutes ago about how you were disrespecting OG Willie, and I was gonna ask him if he was gonna take that slander. But then I remembered that OG Willie likes anime, so his opinion is very invalid, and I didn't really care about it. But that's all I have to really say. I don't know. I'll tell you
Anime is
if
great,
anything
yeah.
else comes to mind.
All right, Dims, do you have any last words for the podcast before we go into these last few
Uh,
minutes?
no, just remember that OG really played 1,000 games, and now he's like really good. And remember that Narwhal has gotten a lot better. And notice how much he's played. So yeah, you just gotta grind, and then you can be one of the best. Pretty much all I have to say.
Beautiful. All right, and moving on to the last few minutes, who do you guys think is the most underrated player currently in Rank Bridge? Who do you think is a
Kai
very
the
good
Asian,
player? Kai the
Kai the Asian,
Asian?
definitely Kai the Asian by and Gabe W Gabe, of course. Those
Yeah,
are the
I
two
think
most
Gabe is
underrated.
pretty underrated.
Yeah,
Who else?
I do have to agree. Gabe is very, very good, especially when he's been playing these 4-4 games. Very, very good at holding pressure, I've noticed, at
Also, I
start
think
of
I think
games.
Rev is kind of underrated as well, in my opinion. I don't know,
Rev,
just what I think.
for those who don't know, Revenant Horror, one of the former best players in the old Rank Bridge. Very, very good at 4v4s especially. Not the greatest 1v1 or 2v2 player, but very, very good at 4v4. Insanely good at holding pressure. And right now he's kind of drained a little bit, but hopefully he can play more, especially during that 1.3x, during these multipliers, so he can go ahead and claim back his #1 title. One of the best players in 4-4 by far.
Velo says Heyman is underrated. I think he was underrated, but like now I think
I don't think
people
he's
know how
that
much better.
underrated anymore.
I think he's just good and
I
known
think
as
he's
good.
people know that
Yeah.
he's good now.
I'd like to also add on, Gabe might be underrated, but he also doesn't know how to go to the lobby and type /unnick, so that kind of docks off points.
Yeah. All right, and this is coming up to the end of Rank Bridge. We've got 18 listeners live. Reminder, if you would like to listen live to any of these podcasts every week on Saturdays, we have this podcast. We won't be announcing the time of the podcast because it may or may not change, at least the day before. So on Friday, if you're in the Discord, you should see an announcement somewhere what time we're planning on doing the podcast at. Make sure you attend live on the podcast. Quick shout out to everybody we have attending the podcast right now. We've got Argona Bladderbeast, Life Fades, Mad Builder, Orion JZ, Pavkin Fan, Penguini579, Plant OO, Simple Yes, Sleepy Sticks, TP here, Flexi, Necrozma, The Schmill. The Schmill is actually a server booster, shout out for that. W Gabe, one of the underrated players that we mentioned not too long ago, Ankins, and I'm Velo. A lot of very, very good ranked players right now are currently listening in. So if you would like to ask any questions live next week, feel free to attend our Rank Bridge podcast next week. However, that has been it for this week's Rank Bridge podcast, episode 1, the first ever Rank Bridge podcast. Do you guys have anything you want to say before we close out?
I'm happy to be a part of history, the first ever Rank Bridge podcast, and I got to say a bunch of random stuff. I'm very happy.
Yeah, thank you very much, McCoy, for being our guest for this week. Hopefully, we can have different guests every week. So if you'd like to be a guest, simply play a lot of ranked bridge, become a little more well known if you're a little new to the game, and just play a lot, have a decent mic, and hopefully you can be our next guest for the Ranked Bridge podcast. Anyways, that's been it for this week. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.